What's up, everybody? It is Ebontis here with episode number 307? 6? I've honestly forgot because I'm not staring at it right now, but I wanted to chat with you guys because my co-hosts are a bit busy between travel and life and game coverage and everything else. We are kind of in the grand scheme of a busy time and ramping up to the busy season. Destiny also is kind of on a bit of a in-between state at the moment, so we've got basically just kind of not a lot going on in the world of Destiny, mostly because Solstice is going on. Now, if you're farming in Solstice, I've done a couple guides on that. You've got your weapon options, getting your armor, your glows, and that kind of thing. There really wasn't much of a change this week. We did get a bit of a TWAB, though, so I do kind of want to talk about that briefly, just to kind of get the Destiny stuff out of the way first. But the other thing I want to do is talk about a lot of the games that are coming out and kind of what I'm looking forward to personally. I'm sure the guys are looking forward to some of the same. Some of the video will be on screen. A lot of this probably will be for audio listeners more so, just because it's a little easier to swap back and forth than live look up a bunch of videos, but I will do my best. But for the TWAB, GCX is here. So GCX is kicking off like day 0. Pretty much day 1 is Friday, day 2 is Saturday. If you're in Orlando having a good time, I wish I could be there. You guys know my travel debacles. I've talked about them enough. If you've watched my streams, was supposed to be at Travis's wedding, was not actually there because Sunday morning when I was supposed to fly out, flight was canceled. That was like 2 in the morning we figured that out. And then we were like rebooked on a flight to LAX, which is not close to San Francisco. And we had a 1-day layover. Now, previously I've had like my flight switched and it's not usually the end of the world. But this time I was like truly unable to change that first leg. So I was like locked in from my area to LAX. And I love how they're like, oh yeah, just hang out in LAX for 28 hours. There was literally nothing. No plan, no hotel, no voucher, zero that I knew about. And we were supposed to fly to LAX in like 6 hours or something. It was like an 8 a.m. boarding instead of 7 a.m. boarding. We were going to be getting up early anyway. So that's step one. I couldn't switch that flight. Like there was one Monday morning, I could have flown out there Monday morning, been there for part of the day and, then still been there for the wedding. Would have been short, but still would have been able to make it out there. But the problem was I couldn't swap to that flight. So that was part of issue number 1. Number 2, my wife had the fun sickness recently. So unfortunately, she was just getting over that. She had test positive like the day before, just because we were watching that one. She was feeling better, but we were kind of taking it day at a time. And it's probably because it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Maybe my voice is lingering just from sickness or drainage or who knows. So sorry if my voice sounds bad. But basically, I was feeling like a scratchy throat that morning. Could it have been 4 o'clock in the morning? Probably. But when you're like looking at rebooking flights and travel and wedding and being around other people, and if your spouse in the same house had COVID and you hadn't quite tested positive yet, but things feel weird, that adds a pile to the mix. And then for the third factor, if we were looking at canceling and rebooking, it was like 3 times the cost. So it was like, if I could have just swapped from one flight to another, I would have, but when I was calling the airline that morning, whatever was going on the East Coast, like it was the tropical storm or whatever, just walked its way up the East Coast, caused a lot of flooding and everything. So I was lucky that I was just sitting at home. There were people stuck in airports, had a flight scheduled, had it rebooked, and then basically ended up being stuck in airports. They were on the phone on hold for like 5-6 hours. I was on Twitter at like 3:30 in the morning looking at people showing like how long they had been on hold on their phone call, and they're sitting in airport. And at that point, I'm sitting there going, that doesn't seem great. And then the fact that people were booking flights and then getting canceled. If I had even rebooked for Monday, I don't even know if that flight would have gone through. It probably would have, and I think it might have if I checked later. All of that stuff is happening at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm supposed to make a decision. So we ended up, luckily enough, we canceled the trip, refunded everything due to them like screwing up our flights and everything like that, because the original flight was fully canceled. We were able to basically get refunds on everything. And unfortunately, we didn't get to go. Sad part about that is I didn't want to do 2 trips back to back, so wasn't able to go to GCX. At this point, I would love to have gone to Gamescom or PAX West, and maybe that's something I work on going to next year. because those actually seem really, really cool, and I would love to go to those kind of things. Gamescom seems like a lot. I should probably start with a PAX before I go to... I would like to do PAX West because it is in Seattle. Maybe I can hopefully ping a few of the people I know who are still in the Seattle area and be like, hey, you guys want to grab a meal or hang out or anything? So that would be a hope for next year, maybe, if possible. But Gamescom seems like it would be huge, because E3 is not E3 anymore. I mean, I probably should try and go to Summer Games Fest, just because it's still one of the cool things. I don't know if I qualify for any part of that factor, but still would be worth trying. But either way, I was like, hey, this was going to be the trip to San Francisco. We're going to hang out with Travis, have a good time. And then that didn't happen, and just no travel's happening. So we're at home, but on account of things being canceled, we actually kind of moved up the window when we were going to help foster a husky. So for us, we've had huskies since we've been married, basically. Actually, before we were married. We got Raya before we got married. We lost her in February. You guys probably heard the story. If you haven't, I'm not going to retell it, because every time I do, I cry. But we lost her in February, and we have 2 right now. Enzo, who's about 10. He is currently on kennel rest, which is making our current situation a little much, because he can't really be too active and bouncy, even though he's a 10-year-old dog. But man, that boy has energy when he's like not hurting. But it's like they figured out it's like some nerve thing in his neck, because we took him to the vet because the foster was playing and they were all bouncing around. And Midnight, the kind of 3-year-old that we've got, he's very bouncy and very playful, and they're usually good. But we had heard Enzo kind of like yelp a couple of times, but kind of subtle, just like burr, like like occasionally just a little thing like, what are you doing to yourself? It's like you kind of feel like you have a bruised rib, but unfortunately you can't do much about those kind of things. So we were trying to give him time. And then it was kind of a Saturday morning, I think. Yeah, because the vet was only open half the day. Saturday morning, like they were just kind of running outside playing for a second in the backyard. And then like midnight, or Enzo just screamed, like not good. And basically what we figured out was once he kind of calmed down, hobbled his way to the car, he still, like, I got him on the leash and he still hopped into the car, and we're like, did you, because he was really favoring, almost like limping off of his left paw. So we're like, oh, did he like hurt something? Is something going on? And it really was kind of hard to diagnose. So, it was just weird. We could not figure out what the heck it was. So I figured, we were trying to let him heal, but then my wife was like, it's Saturday morning, otherwise it's going to go through the weekend. We have the foster. So I took him to the vet. They were actually pretty quick to diagnose it. Pretty much it's like a nerve thing on the side of their neck. So I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with sciatica. It sucks. They're the big bundles of nerves that kind of like go from your spine and then split and then work down your legs. Sciatica is like when your nerves down there are getting pinched or whatever's going on, but then like the pain and feeling travels down your leg. So it's the fact that that area of nerves, but controls so much more. Similar situation, apparently, I learned with dogs. They have nerves that kind of go down their neck, obviously, and would control their whole side. And what she showed me, it was actually really interesting. She could have a treat and like pull on this side, and he would like quickly turn his head and go for the treat on his right side. But if she tried to give a treat and then like turn his head to the left, he wouldn't go. He would like have to try and turn the whole body or whatever, but did not want to turn the neck. And that's like the quickest I've ever seen somebody be like, so how do you know? Showed me that. It was really, really straightforward. So he's currently been drugged up on bed rest. I feel sorry for the guy because he's got a whole lot of FOMO right now. And then Midnight, and then Tundra. Tundra is our foster. I did post about her. If you're anywhere remotely around the Dallas area or a few hours away and curious about a husky and you want to adopt a dog, that's what we've got her for. So we're hanging out with her until she is kind of ready to get adopted. She will get spayed. But if you are looking to adopt a dog and you are willing to get into the world of what a husky adoption would be like, let me know. That's just kind of one of those things. I'll just throw it out there because you never know who's going to be looking for one. She's, I think, going to be a really good dog. She's very playful. She's very chill, though, if I have them separated. Like, if her and Midnight are on the same room, it's like couch parkour. They are running around doing a wrestling match. It's crazy, but huskies play hard. They just do. But if it's just me and her, we have a couple baby gates to separate dogs for multiple reasons. We've always had them. But if she's over here with me on this side, she's literally just passed out on the floor. So, like, hang out on walks, she's not pulling too hard. She kind of wanders, and she would need a little training, but she's, like, fully house-trained. Knock on my desk, but, like, not one accident yet. Seriously, like, just walks straight to the back door and kind of looks at you. You let her out, she'll go to the bathroom. She's been really good, sleeps through the night pretty quietly, a little hesitant to go in the kennel because she doesn't want to miss out, but working on getting her kennel trained to go in there, and she sleeps pretty well, like truly through the whole night. Like, she's been really good. So, I mean, house trained, kennels in the works, but like understandable. She's generally pretty good. She'll let you know if she's unhappy or wants to chat or something like that, but I think she's actually going to be really good. The thing is, just like with her and Midnight, they're going to roughhouse a little bit, so Enzo just has to be isolated, or we have to like separate everybody when it's feeding time and do this just kind of rotational system of everybody getting around. It's a little bit of a lot, but it is kind of one of those things that's, I think in time it will get better, and I think the foster would have been fine, totally, like if Enzo would have been normal. Like, we could have had her on this side to feed, they could have played, they could have rested, would have been okay, just kind of watch and monitor. But with him being on bed rest, it's this like rotation where we don't want him to get too amped. So that's kind of what I've been going through a little bit for me. I know Travis got married, so heard it was really good. I saw a couple clips. His string quartet actually played the Halo theme. I thought that was fantastic. And then I know he was going to have this whole multi-stage thing I'll have to hear about. I think he had it videoed, which he probably won't totally share public, but they were doing it at like a bar / kind of tavern type thing with multiple floors, and we're going to have like stages to the wedding. They rented that thing out for the night. I know it was going to be a good time. I really haven't ever been to San Francisco, so I was looking forward to it, but that was honestly just a trip that did not make sense in the moment, and it sucks because I really, really wanted to go. Also would like to go to GCX, but I feel like GCX is one of those that if I'm going to spend my money right now may not be the best time, because with Enzo's neck and stuff, we don't know what's coming. So it's just like, maybe I'm just being told don't travel right now, hang out for a little bit. So I'm hanging out with all of you guys. If you enjoy this audio podcast, let me know. If you watch the video, I'll try and post it up to kind of all the channels a little bit later on, so you guys have something to watch or listen to, but I'll let you guys know it's out there once this one is done. But yeah, in the world of Destiny, it's pretty light. Solstice is still going on for one more week, and then everybody will be back. And then August 27th is in the middle of a week of just pure chaos. It is truly nuts. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this podcast now, because I don't know if Travis will be available next week. I think Cognito is actually busy next week with travel because he's going to Gamescom stuff in LA, I believe. Even though Gamescom is in Germany, they're doing some stuff out there, which I didn't even know, but that's cool. But a lot of what I'm kind of sitting and trying to be ready for is everything coming down the pipe. And what we've got coming is going to be just a massive ton of games. So for August, right now, we're on the 15th. Stuff that's already come out this month. So what you've got is Creatures of Ava, came out on Wednesday the 7th. That one is a kind of like stylistic adventure game. I played the demo a little bit, using different creatures in kind of more of a positive way instead of like combat. You're using them to kind of help heal nature, but also use the different animals with different abilities to solve puzzles. Played the demo, kind of got the gist of that one. Seems pretty reasonable from reviews and stuff. Cat Quest 3, literally just like an isometric Cat Quest game, and it's based around a pirate adventure, and instead of the Caribbean, it's in the Caribbean. Whole bunch of cat puns if that's your thing. Steam World Heist 2 and Deathbound also came. Those are all on the 8th. And then this week, excuse me, looking at this calendar, Stormgate's getting into early access. You've got Arena Breakout coming, but I was like, today, what I'm looking for? So Madden comes out tomorrow, and then next week is when it really starts everything. I think what I'm going to assume is the final boss in the new POP game with like the level 2 or 3 main weapons. POP game. You got to be a little more clear. A Prince of Persia game. Gotcha. Yeah, Prince of Persia, I think, has some DLC coming, and that game came out at the top of the year, and I absolutely loved it, by the way. I think I gave that one like a 9 out of 10. One of the best Metroidvanias I've played, period. Like, not now or later, just extremely good. Gameplay, combat, exploration, puzzles, and they have difficulty scalers for certain things, too, to be a little more forgiving, but overall, like, if you want a Metroidvania, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is fantastic. I've had a lot of surprises this year like that. So next week on the 20th, technically the night of the 19th for me, because I'm Central Time, so it's going to be 9 p.m. on the 19th, 10 p.m. if you want to go Eastern Time. For the 19th is when Black Myth Wukong comes out. So Black Myth Wukong is something I've been waiting for years. I don't even know when the first trailer came out, but I'm going to switch over on screen where I can show you guys. This is just another trailer right now that is going to pretty much just basically show off like ray tracing in the world. Black Myth Wukong is based off of Journey to the West. I think it's Chinese mythology. If I get any of the countries of origin things wrong, I apologize. But this one looks fantastic. So, action Souls-like, but I do feel more dodge-focused versus something along the lines of like Sekiro, when you get into a lot of parries. So, with regards to Black Myth Wukong, one, there is a benchmark out there on Steam right now. So, if you want to figure out what your settings are going to be, test the ray tracing capabilities and all of that type of stuff, I know there's going to be a driver update for NVIDIA by the time that comes out. Very NVIDIA focused, but they've also got, what is AMD's FSR? Sorry, they've got that in there, and I tested and they all look pretty reasonable. The idea is the world is going to look gorgeous, so right now, basically, I'm just going to try and play a little bit of it. If you hear a little bit of music, that's fine, but if you guys are just only going audio only, you won't be seeing this, but for video, figured I'd show you guys what this thing looks like. It looks awesome, though. It really, really does. So this is just even a little bit of like a ray tracing differential, so you can kind of see what you will and won't be seeing. Even just the brick architecture here, not very great lighting, a lot more depth and texture to it. And then just even showing water and a river. And also when it goes over to RTX on, you can tell the textures definitely get, I don't have a little more high def, but the ray trace shadows and everything is going to be there. Frame generation is going to be there. And just the action looks truly fantastic. Massive bosses, really, really amazing combat, because you really just have like one weapon with your staff, but it looks like you've got so many different attacks, a lot of agility to it. I think the combat's going to be a lot to master, actually, but I'm hoping to work on a guide as soon as I can that day. And that one is going to be August 20th, as I said, or August 19th, depending on your time zone. If you're across the pond in Europe, that will be the morning of the 20th. That is like first thing that's going to really consume a lot of my time next week. This game makes you want to be a PC gamer. Yes. This makes me wish I had like a 5090. My 3090 is doing okay. And it's just one of those things where when it comes to things like frame generation or DLSS and all of that stuff, it's one of those to where the longer I go with my 3090, not a bad card, mind you. Not a bad card at all. I'm lucky enough to be able to have one of the Founders 3090s and enjoyed it for quite a while. And then the 4090. But if I go look up like the release date of my card, when did that come out? RTX 3090 release date. It came out September 17th of 2020. So it is almost a 4-year-old card. And some of you guys are out there complaining like, I truly mention this sometimes, and some people are like, I'm still using like my 1080 in the comments or anything like that. And it's like, okay, when did the 1080, even the 1080 Ti, which is what I ran on for a while, the 1080 Ti came out on this in 2017. So that's 7 years old. So there's a point to where like on PC gaming, yes, it's 100% going to be expensive. Sadly, you've got Intel chips, which did have a microcode fix on some of their stuff with like issues of chips actually burning out. They do have a warranty that's going to cover those for extension. AMD just released their 9000 series chips. Problem with those is they don't seem to be like a really big upgrade. Now, if they do the 99, probably the 9800 X3D is going to be the chip to watch, because I think they are going to want to make a big jump when it comes to gaming performance. But right now, just the 9900X is going to be one of those that's just probably not going to be totally the most favorable thing to deal with for a little while. So, like, it seems like all the chips right now are kind of like, meh. So it's like, while I have a 5950X, good chip, don't have a 7950X, but doesn't seem like I really want to upgrade quite yet. So I'm like, do I really have to wait for like another set of CPUs or something? Like, I don't know. So holding off on the CPUs. What I'm really looking forward to, hopefully in Q1, is going to be 5090 potentially. That's just one of those that I am really looking forward to, but it still is, for me, kind of one of those that's like, it's a lot of money, probably going to be an early card. I don't know if they're ever going to do a 5090 Titan or something like that. The thing about a 3090 to a 4090, it's actually a really substantial jump. Because even the 4080 is still better than the 3090, but the 4090 is a massive jump. And from what I keep hearing with regards to pretty much anything that I've looked up with information that covers video cards and stuff like that, Jesus. Oh man. Like the 5090 is supposed to be a massive jump again. So it really is going to make my 3090, and again, very much first world problems here, but it will very much make my 3090 feel old at that point because I don't have DLSS 3, so that's no frame generation. Ray tracing on mine is definitely weaker when it comes to that kind of thing. And they're just not as powerful. And then when it comes to the 5090, it's going to put mine to shame. And if I can pair a 5090, might need a power supply, we will see. But a 5090 with my current system, and then wait for the system base like DDR5, and then whatever after the 9000 series for AMD comes out, or maybe Intel just blows the doors off of things next, who knows. Either way, it does seem like if I can get a 5090 and I can get that working in my system with maybe a power supply, that might be something that tides me over until I get to the next set of chips, because it doesn't seem like they're that exciting right now. Unless like the 9950 X3D or whatever comes out and it's just like, you know, God's gift to CPUs or something. Doesn't seem like it's going to be doing that much. So this is just like one of those games that makes you want to have like the prettiest experience possible. PS5, Steam, Epic Store, and I guess Wii Game. It is a Chinese-based studio, I think, Game Sciences. And it's not coming to Xbox. They said they're working on it, but it's just not coming yet. I think they're working on, they said, technical stuff. Everybody has speculations, but eventually it's coming there as well. Yeah, coming to Xbox at a later date, pretty much. Yeah, PS5, I think there's like leaks out there where somebody got a chance to possibly get their hands on it. Seems like they said it was running pretty well on PS5. I am curious if there's a PlayStation showcase or a Tokyo Game Show, if we finally get a mention of a PlayStation 5 Pro. I do think a PS5 Pro is going to be a very niche thing for people, but there are a lot of people who are playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and if Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be this $2 billion investment by Rockstar, massive game. I mean, I think true speculation is like a $2 billion investment. Some of the biggest investments that I think of in like movies, for example, like Lord of the Rings might have been $500 million. You've got $300 million movies, $2 billion. I mean, granted, Rockstar's been printing money for like 2 years. It's absolutely insane. So I think I will be very curious to watch the timing of if there's a Pro for the PS5, if things like, because some people right now are buying next-gen consoles for like college football, because that was just a next-gen only game and they're finally getting their upgrades on. If people start to upgrade for certain titles later in the franchise, because the PS4 and the Xbox One have been holding on for a very long time. Destiny still caters to those. It absolutely does. So it is one of those things that's like, it's weird because you've got these moments that we have hardware that's been out for 4 years now, if I remember correctly. How old is the PS5? PS5 release date? Yeah, 2020 in November. So, I mean, we're coming up on the 4-year anniversary of the PS5 and the Xbox One. Xbox Series, sorry. They're 4 years old. Like, I'm looking at graphics card. I'm looking at replacing a graphics card that is 4 years old. So, I mean, the fact that we are halfway through this cycle probably is interesting. But I'm also wondering if a PS5 Pro can, 1, do enough to stand out, 2, not cost an arm and a leg because prices have not gone down. So it's like, what are you going to get people to buy a PS5 Pro for? But then 3, if they can get that thing timed reasonably, ready in people's hands, decent amount of supply, and if it like blows the doors off of a console-only game first. I think that's one of the things that is going to be interesting about the Grand Theft Auto, is going to be the fact that it is console-only first. And they do this because they know you're going to buy it again on PC like in a year or 6 months or whenever they move it over. But PS5 Pro has the absolute best place to play Grand Theft Auto 6. I am really curious what that does. Now, there's lately been no speculation with regards to a higher version of the Xbox. If they snuck one out, I'd be impressed. They definitely have the hardware, team to probably put something like that together. But like GTA 6 coming out for PS5 and Xbox Series, if there is a PS5 Pro and there is not a Pro version, then you're like, okay, now the Pro is by far the best one. Now, does it cost $1,000 for the system? It better not. If it costs $600, that is something people will think about, because I know some of the systems are $500. So if the Pro comes out, which we still don't even have any confirmation that it even exists, even though there's a lot of rumors, and if the price point is reasonable, and then Grand Theft Auto gets a release date in the fall of 2025 as it's expected to, that is just going to be fun to kind of sit back, grab the popcorn, and see what happens. And I'm looking forward to it, but overall, it's going to be a whole bunch of console war mess. And honestly, I just don't care about the console war. It's like, I've played Xbox 360, like that whole generation. PS4, played most of the games on there. This time around, I had PS5 because there was just more games coming. Xbox's slate with their 30-plus studios, if you go look at the Gamescom post that they have, there's so much stuff that they're covering that I'm actually looking forward to a lot of. It is kind of crazy how much stuff is there. And when it comes to the stuff for Xbox, you've got Diablo 4. That's coming later. We'll talk about that. Stalker 2, Atomfall, Starfield Shattered Space. Not sure if I'll dive back in, but maybe. They mentioned Forza Horizon 5. There's a rumor that could go to PS5. If they're just going multi-platform, more people to get to play games. Star Wars Outlaws. We'll get to that bit of discussion. World of Warcraft, The War Within. I'll actually be jumping into that one, by the way. In the First Descendant, is there a way to adjust controller sensitivity? Honestly, it would just have to be in the settings. I truly don't know off the top of my head. But then you get like Fallout 76, Towerborn, Elder Scrolls, Fragpunk, the first Berserker Kazan, that's one I've been watching. Eternal Strands, that's one I'm watching. Let's see. Mecha Break is getting a little bit of popularity with its test. Little Nightmares 3, that's one that I know is in development, and the studio that made Little Nightmares 1 and 2 is working on something different, which looks terrifying, which means I need to play Little Nightmares 1 and 2. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, that one we're probably going to be waiting for a date for. I don't know where all of this stuff is going to fit as well, so that's kind of why I want to go through some of this calendar with you guys. Avowed did get delayed to like February of 2025, which in the grand scheme of things, I think that's actually really good. Sorry, I was messing with my YouTube windows here. Let's see. Avowed, Ara Untold, that's more of a PC RTS game, but then you got Sea of Thieves, 33 Immortals, Space Marine 2, that's on September 9th, that's coming, Metaphor ReFantazio. Haven't been into much of a turn-based RPG in a while, but that one looks like it's getting a whole lot of fun. Tales of Iron, that one I don't know as much. That could be like the Tales series if it's RPGs. Squirrel with a Gun, I think Travis said he might be covering that one. Path of Exile 2, First Descendant, and more. Like the 3 days of Wednesday the 21st, Thursday the 22nd, and Friday the 23rd, when I'm going to be basically playing Black Myth Wukong nonstop, by the way. Those 3 days are chock full of just a massive amount of games. Truly, like so much in there. So that is kind of crazy. That's just one studio alone. So then we get to, I've been kind of referring to a release calendar. So Black Myth Wukong's the first one. That's going to be on August 20th for basically the wide audiences. If you go to bed at a reasonable hour, you'll be playing it on the 20th. Now, you've also got Dustboard and Predecessor. I don't know as much about those. Concord comes out on the 23rd. Now, Concord is definitely one to watch. I don't know. I didn't play it, so I didn't jump into the open beta. You know, like, I'm not as much on the competitive shooters. It doesn't seem like it's got the player base it needs to, like, survive, unless they're just trying to launch it and let it die. I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't feel like Concord. It doesn't feel like, from what I've heard, Concord in and of itself is a bad game. I think it's going to have trouble finding a home because there's just a lot of competitive shooters trying to pull at people's time. Then you've also got the fact that, like, the pre-orders were giving more people codes. There weren't that many people playing at the same time. We don't know what the updated, like, you know, final game is going to be. It looked like there was 12 maps and 6 modes. I think to start, they were going to try and do a weekly story beat as well. It's something I think the studio wants to have survive, and if it has a chance to grow and get a player base, maybe. But if it just doesn't land and get a big following right out of the gate, I think it's going to have some struggles. So the 23rd is Concord for this month, and that is definitely going to be one to watch. It's also coming out during Gamescom, so if you're trying to have like a worldwide audience play, it's going to be buried in a lot of news, which I never quite always understand. Like, launching a game in the middle of a news cycle, people are trying... I don't know if people pay attention to gaming news as much as I do. They probably don't. But it's one of those that I think it's going to be either a surprise or a tale to future games of how not to do it. So you got Concord. Then on the 26th, so Monday the 26th, we have World of Warcraft, The War Within. Now, I will actually be playing that one. Didn't think I would, but I've got a chance to have a stream for that one for a couple hours and jump in for a couple of days. It's one I'm kind of curious about because I've told you guys before on plenty of podcasts, I played World of Warcraft years ago. Now, I would honestly have to go look and see when the hell the Lich King release date. November 13th, 2008. Yeah, 2008. So, I mean, it's been 16... No, I'm doing bad math. Hold on. No, I did that right. It has been 16 years since the release of the last World of Warcraft expansion I actually put a lot of time into. That is a really, really long time. Now, I jumped in probably, I don't even remember, the Panda one to check it out, see if it was any good, see if it was worth getting back into, but I have not played in so long. So I may actually stream a little bit over the weekend, see if I can kind of refresh myself on a couple of things, maybe get a character kind of moving along. I just don't even know what to expect. So that will be the 26th. Have not played World of Warcraft in 15 years, probably 14 years, somewhere in there. I haven't played World of Warcraft longer than I've been married, which is a pretty good while. So that will be a bit of an interesting journey. But moving forward to the 27th, you've got Core Keeper. That is kind of an indie... It's one I've been following a lot. I don't have as much to say. I think there's been demos, but it's one I'm watching because I think they're coming up to their 1.0 launch, and I think they're going to do pretty well if they can find a pretty good audience. It just looks like it's got a lot of potential for exploration, and then when it comes to combat and just like running around in the world, it's like a kind of a pixel art, isometric. It's just got a lot of potential, a lot of positive. I mean, there's positive reviews out there right now for it's an early access game, and it's in like 93, 91% very positive for everything. 1.0, I believe, is coming out. It's actually co-op. Mine, build, fight, craft, and farm to unravel the mystery of the ancient core. It is a whopping $20, and it's definitely one to watch out for. So when it comes to Core Keeper, that is on the 27th, I think, for their 1.0 launch. And again, this is stuff that I'm just not going to have time to cover, but I do want to jump back into later on. Then we get to the 29th, and this is a day that is extremely busy. So we've got Visions of Mana. That's going to be on the 29th. I do believe some people had previews of that one. I'm not entirely sure how they're going. From what I gathered from listening to Kind of Funny, it seems like they were not exactly sold on that one. But I really don't know. Kind of Funny did one final preview on IGN. I was really just trying to see, like, if anybody has anything recent. Preview, final thread, because it's like, I played Secret of Mana long ago. So let's see, IGN. Now that I've experienced the early and middle parts of Visions of Mana, I simply can't wait to sink my teeth into what the full game has to offer. First preview showcased how good the combat and RPG elements are once they're established, and the second highlighted just how good the build-up is for the character setting and ever-evolving tactics. Like, that could not sound farther apart from how they described it on Kind of Funny. It is... Yeah, they really didn't like it, and then you read that preview by IGN, and I'm sitting there going, did you guys play the same game? This seems insane to me. Now, I played the demo. I had a decent time. It's got more live action combat instead of turn-based, so they're getting a little more into it. Art style is very pretty. I don't know about the writing being a little cheesy. One of the voice actors totally threw me off. It's like a Southern belle, not quite, but it is a Southern style, like, voice actor. And for the character it's coming out of, it just blew, like, so weird. Here's to hoping the story continues to develop as much as the gameplay does as the story reaches later parts of the game. So they sounded like they had a really good time. Me, I listened to what some of what Kind of Funny said. Took some of, hi Tundra. All right, we're going to get a little cameo here. Let me see if I can organize this one. This is Tundra. I don't know if you guys can see her down there. Hi Tundra. She is kind of a woolly, so she's got a really fluffy coat. She's part Malamute, I think. And it's just one of those things that's like, she is furrier than any of the dogs that we've had. Like Raya, when we put her on her medicine to kind of help with what she was dealing with, she got like extra fur. But she is very sweet. She's got like those amber colored eyes because she is a Malamute. Little wider set ears than a husky. Like huskies have a little taller ears, kind of leaning more towards a German, not quite as tall. But as she's a Malamute, she's got the big, massive, floofy tail. My wife, which I'm not a fashion person at all. My wife says that she has pantaloons because her back legs kind of like the fluff like bows out. So Miss Pantaloons back there. Her tail is huge. Her tail is like Enzo's and Midnight's tail put together. It is massive, big fluffy tail. She's very snuggly. She's very loving. They do play hard though. Huskies and Malamutes, they just go hard when they play. So that's just one of those different dog owners. I think if you were mixing breeds of like who she was playing with, probably a little bit of kind of chaos going in there. But yeah, she's very adorable. The biggest thing that I was actually worried about, being as the chaos right now with Enzo and the kennel and stuff, it's making it a little easier. But there's a thing called a foster fail, where you foster a dog for a while, but you have the first right of refusal, aka, no, we've taken care of her this long, she's ours. Trying not to do that. We don't really have a setup for 3 dogs right now. We're making it work, but I mean, like, we both have cars, not like a SUV or something that could manage 3 dogs for a trip. If we go see my wife's parents, it's a bit of a trip and we don't want to take 3 dogs. Then you get dog sitters that get expensive with multiple. It's just a whole thing. So we're trying not to do 3 dogs. But my wife did want to help Texas Husky Rescue as much as she could. So that's when it comes into just the fostering part. So wanted to try it, give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. So she's pretty adorable. Anyway, back to Visions of Mana. This is just one I've been looking forward to. Like Sea of Stars, when it comes to an RPG like that one, I think that's going to be my Chrono Trigger itch. But I mean, Secret of Mana, I wanted to kind of see what one's going to be like. So let's see, we got Tech Raptor. One of the most surprising parts of Visions of Mana was the open world areas. The game is an open world, though there are some areas large enough to have multiple fast travel points. Traveling through these areas was both satisfying and rewarding. There's a lot to collect, including money. Considering the price of in-game items, the currency alone makes exploring worth it. The movement and banter between the characters is part of what makes the game makes exploring so fun. Jumping and running is so smooth. And I will say the game ran very smooth. I don't know how it would go over the course of the whole journey, but I was like, it ran well. I will say it's very polished. The banter between characters is entertaining, kept me laughing while I did this, combined with great sound design. Like, there's some positivity in here. It's interesting. As for the game's story, Vision of Mana offers a less conventional plot. Instead of the conventional Chosen One plot, players find themselves as Val, the bodyguard or soul guard of the Chosen Ones. In this universe, the world depends on continued existence of the Mana Tree. However, the tree requires alms, willing sacrifices from each village, gloriously appointed by the fairies. The plot is what I'd call a cutesy version of the Dark Souls universe. That's wonderful. So don't let the adorable art style fool you. The story gets interesting depths and should interest even the most seasoned JRPG players. Like, I listened to the Kind of Funny one, and I mean, Andy's usually pretty decent about, I think Andy Cortez, yeah. Pretty reasonable on some of his. I know he and I both like he likes Souls and I love my Souls games, so it's like we'll talk about those. Let's see, press start. While there are definitely some questions to be answered based on the sizable chunk of the early game, I'm more than excited to see the entire Visions of Mana journey through to its conclusion, especially to get a feel for the rest of the classes and how they synergize. This could be a bit of a treat for JRPG fans. So, like, reading through all of these, I'm less down on it than I was, but it does seem like take some of all of this with a grain of salt. I am looking forward to it. I definitely want to check it out. It may just be one that I get to later. Also, for me, when I have to think about coverage, I got to think about what I'm actually, like, my channel is specialized for. Like, Black Myth Wukong, playing it as much as I can, and then I'm going to put out a beginner's guide to hopefully help people out. And if there's, like, builds or systems or anything like that, a couple of days of coverage on that. World of Warcraft is kind of a similar thing. That could even be something like, hey, I mean, that's going to be a video of, like, I haven't played this game in 15 years. Is it still good? Like, I can see the videos for that. Something like, for me, Visions of Mana, for one, not a JRPG expert right here. Not at all. So I'm kind of talking out of my butt a little bit when it comes to having much of an opinion about those. It's like, just did I have fun or not is pretty much my only opinion I'll be able to have. But for me to have coverage on it, that's going to be less of a thing that is worth probably like 40 hours on that in between everything else. So that's where it's probably just not going to be as high of a priority. Now, on the 30th, we have Star Wars Outlaws. Now, if you guys saw my preview video that I did on my main channel, that one is actually one I'm kind of excited about. Star Wars Outlaws is going to be Kay Vess. I think that's her name. And then Nyx. Nyx is adorable. I needed Nyx plushie, like, in my life. It's adorable. But you're going to be a smuggler, so no lightsabers. It's not going to be based around Jedi. You're dealing with the underbelly of the world of Star Wars. So you've got the Hutt, which is one of the factions, but there's 3 other ones. You've got the Pikes, Crimson Dawn, and then I forget the one that's on a different planet that I saw later on. But you've got different factions that you can do favors for. You can actually fly from the planet straight out through a little animation. Starfield, you could have done that, I'm just saying. So, it's, I think where Star Wars Outlaws is probably going to shine. This is just a guess. Combat is probably going to be fine. Your blaster can get upgrades. Your ship can get upgrades. The dogfighting felt kind of fun. Not really too big of a deal, but it's there. It's not like you're going to have, like, ace combat or anything. But the dogfighting felt reasonable. The ship was good to control. That's one of those where even if I'm on mouse and keyboard, I gotta pick up a controller. The speeder felt clunky, but I know you get upgrades for a lot of these things, so it'll probably feel a little better later on. There was one point in my preview, I nudged a guy on the speeder and kind of made him crash into a rock, which was kind of cool. So I don't know if that's, like, you know, a canned thing that happens, or if I just kind of had my placement lucky. But really, it's gonna have a lot of stealth. A lot of stealth, and I think a lot of story, a lot of playing the factions against each other, because you'll go through a stealth mission for one thing, possibly find some more information, and then you can figure out who you're going to give that information to. Well, if you want to build favor with the one you just helped out, you can give her the bonus information, or you can keep that to yourself, give the guy the information that it's about to them directly, and that could probably build you favor up with them. So it's kind of a toss-up, and then from there, it's going to be, where do you have more access to? Where do you have better... What can you purchase from different vendors, from the different syndicates? The voice, I think the voice acting was well done. I didn't pay as much attention to the animations. I thought the the fully animated sections were reasonable. I listened to Skillup's preview about it. He was less a fan of, like, the in-game animations, and I wasn't paying as much attention to, like, facial animations in-game, just because there's a lot to take in, and it really is a Star Wars world, and I think that's the biggest thing, is, like, one of the areas that you land on, the first planet, totally forgot the name at this point, but when you get to the main city and you're walking around, you got little gambling things on the side, you got a cantina, you've got different factions, all the Star Wars characters and designs and races, whole bunch of everything related to Star Wars. So if you want to jump into the Star Wars universe, be a smuggler, stealthing, playing factions against each other, and enjoy an actual story that gets told, not, like, have Jedi powers, then I think you're actually probably going to have a pretty good time. Now, the whole debacle over $70 or $130 in season passes and all that other stuff, no idea until I get my hands on all of it to ever get a full vote on that one. I'm lucky enough, like, you know, hashtag Ubisoft creator. I'm in their creator program, so I get to probably get access to most of that. But when it comes to the actual fun that I'm going to have, I think I'm going to actually have a pretty good time. And that's just from me playing it, and I was just like, okay, so I want to go around and stealth and try and figure these things out, and then when you start to get into the story and doing but there's plenty of things you could go around, and you could find that this one, you know, kind of like a horse race, but not, You can figure out that this one, from a note on a random table somewhere, you can be like, hey, this is the one you want to bet on. Later on, you could do that. There's a lot of little stuff that I think will build that universe up if you take it all in. If you don't care about story and stealth is something you hate, I probably would say Star Wars Outlaws may not be for you. But if stealth is okay, stealth combined with some action, and if you're willing to like go for the journey of the story, then I think you'll probably have a good time. I would just, I don't know where it would land on a review scale, because obviously I haven't played the whole thing. I don't know if it's going to get up to something like a 9, but maybe it will, just because like the story gets cool enough that you kind of go through all of that. There's a bit of the story that I can't talk about, and I'm kind of curious where the overarching story goes versus like the faction stories. So I have no clue how that's going to play out. But overall, if you're in for a Star Wars story, I think you're going to have a good time. But if you don't like stealth, if you don't care about the story in games, I have friends that don't, that may not be the most exciting one for you. So that takes us through August, and that's a lot to play. So Black Myth Wukong, I don't know how big that game is going to be. Tomorrow are the reviews for Black Myth Wukong, by the way. So whoever got access to it, probably like, I don't know, the biggest of YouTubers and the big outlets, that's probably it, because I did not get lucky enough to get even remotely near that one. So the review for Black Myth Wukong is tomorrow, and then on the night of the 19th and the 20th, that's when it will come out. So that's the 20th. On the 26th, you have World of Warcraft, so 5 days is pretty much how long I get to play Black Myth Wukong, do anything about that. World of Warcraft, I will be streaming and playing that. I don't know if I am going to... I don't know if I'm going to get Star Wars Outlaws early enough to like play as a preview and review. Currently, I am 2 weeks from release, so if I am going to get it and have a chance to digest it and make a video on it, I'm going to be really crunched for time. If I get it day of launch, honestly, that might be okay. We'll just have to play it by ear. But World of Warcraft on the 26th, I will be playing that for a little bit just to jump back in, see how it is. Visions of Mana, just in the tight squeeze of timing. I'm probably just going to have to wait on that one. As much as I'd like to jump in, I just don't think it's going to fit. And then Star Wars Outlaws on the 30th. That's just August, and that is really just like 2 weeks. Everything I just said is like 2 weeks. That's it. Kind of nuts. Oh, by the way, Madden comes out tomorrow too. Just in case for all of the people who play like Call of Duty and Madden, one of your 2 games comes out tomorrow. But I'm actually wondering if college football scratched a lot of the football itch for people, and if college football will have bigger sales than Madden, since college football had not been out for so long. I honestly wonder if college football will outsell Madden. Maybe not, because Madden's Madden, but still. Then we get over to like September, and doesn't exactly slow down. It gets a little more manageable, but it's not the smallest. So first one is on Tuesday the 3rd of September. Yes, it is. Yeah, Visions of Mana is related to the Secret of Mana whole universe. Anything of Mana, that, because there was like Visions, Secret. The hell's the other game? Mana franchise. Secret of Mana? Trials of Mana. That's the other one. Sword of Mana. That was Game Boy Advance. But yeah, Secret of Mana is 1993. That's the one I know and I played. Trials of Mana on the Super Famicom. I don't know if that's even remotely the same. Main series games. So, Final Fantasy Adventure. I forgot that technically is kind of the first one, and then they like switched. Yeah, Secret of Mana, Trials of Mana, Dawn of Mana. That was 2006. So that's still been 18 years. And then Visions of Mana. So it's been 18 years since we've had like an official main Mana series game. Dawn of Mana is the first fully 3D game in the Mana series, utilizing the Havoc physics engine seen in Half-Life 2. Oh man. That is probably an experience. It was on PlayStation 2. So, anyways, where was I? Okay, so you have the Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. That's going on like every platform, everywhere. If you played Hogwarts Legacy, which Hogwarts Legacy set the bar so high that the failure of Suicide Squad was made that much worse because their numbers were so high and then dropped so badly because of Suicide Squad being so bad and like poor numbers and everything. Yeah. So Hogwarts did really well. And then on the other hand, you have Quidditch. thought it could have been in the game. Maybe they just knew this was going to be a separate thing. It's fine. So you've got Quidditch Cup there on the 3rd. And then you've got Age of Mythology Retold. I think that is a remake. I think that was part of the Xbox showcase, if I remember correctly. Coming out to Steam, but it is definitely kind of like an RTS remake. Age of Mythology is your game. Retold remake is coming out not that far away. On Thursday the 5th, you've got nothing too crazy, but on Friday the 6th, this is another one I would love to play, but I don't know if I can do both of these back to back. Friday, September 6th is Astrobot. Astrobot is one of the best games of this generation, period, and it came with the PlayStation 5. 100%. Haptic feedback on the controller, the use of the new controller, the actual game, the GPU song, I think it was. That little game, it punches so far above its weight. Now we're getting a full-scale version of that thing, and so instead of being like 4 hours, it's going to be like 10 to 15, however long it takes to do. Probably play or 100% or otherwise. Astrobot looks so much fun. Just, I love the little guy and all the little Easter eggs and stuff like that in there. I know people were not thrilled that there's like a little Bloodborne guy in there. It's part of their mythology, but I don't know what they're doing to not make a Bloodborne again, but it's fine. But yeah, Astrobot looks like an absolute ton of fun. That is Friday the 6th. The one that I think you guys said earlier up in chat is Space Marine. So, see if I can pull that one up. Space Marine 2. Trying to actually have one of their official videos. I mean, Space Marine 2 is even bigger and better than they thought. I know a lot of people have had hands-on. Legacy Gaming, they're great guys. They have a good channel out. I know Skill Up did one. There's a lot that are getting kind of good coverage over that. So I'm going to try and pull up at least a preview for it. There we go. So I'm going to turn this one down. I want to see if I can get it to loop. I always forget if I can. So it's probably going to be quiet right now as we go through. But I mean, Space Marine 2... it looks really cool, like graphically fantastic. And it seems like there's a lot more depth between the customizations to your Space Marines, the weapon upgrades, I think your actual Space Marine upgrades. There's a lot of upgrades that you can get to in customization, loadouts, classes, and then you've got this whole system that they're showing right here. There's just an absolute ton to this game, and I think it's just going to have a lot more than people think, and then if they support it, it's going to be even more. This almost looks like a arena, and then that thing's going to be coming not too far away. So if I can get the IGN blip off of there. Yeah, well, can't do much about that one because that's there. So, where is Space Marine 2? Space Marine 2 Warhammer. I just want like their main channels, usually the ones I like to highlight, as opposed to anyone else. PlayStation's usually reasonable about that one. There's some extended gameplay we could throw in the background.
Emperor, preserve us all.
I am honored to have Lord Titus command our...
So I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit while I'm talking, but if you guys are getting the audio, might want to check out the video part of the podcast. But I mean, when it comes to quality, this is probably only going to go... oh, I can go crank it up. There you go. It just looks like a ton of fun. Absolute total mayhem, but tons of upgrades, big missions. It's actually, this is one of the... I've never been at all related to the Warhammer 40k universe. I don't... basically nothing about it, besides the fact that these Space Marines are absolute elite beasts. And it just looks like one that I'm definitely going to watch and look forward to. So that is on September 9th, and I think this is one you're really going to want to watch. If you like big action, third-person combat, you've got melee, you've got weapons, you've got aliens and all that fun stuff, I think this is probably going to be one to check out. just due to everything that I've seen so far. A lot of people are digging it. I'm not sure how multiplayer is going to go. I think that was the one thing Skillet mentioned in his preview. But overall, this is definitely one that I'm looking forward to jumping into if possible. I missed the preview coverage window, but we'll see if I get a chance to jump into this one. So there's so many games coming, it's just hard to stay on top of absolutely everything. But yeah, like, it looks... graphics look really, really good, and I think it's just going to be a fun, ridiculously chaos game. Of course, you guys know I'll try and solo it. So that's just going to be kind of one of those. We'll see if it's doable or if you need co-op or how the thing scales. But I'm really looking forward to this one, and honestly, just because I've really never jumped into the Warhammer universe. But if the combat looks to be, I mean, he's getting action, perfectly timed dodges getting out of the way. I'm really enjoying that action combat is not quite as boring now. What's up, Back from the Dead? And then you get like these finisher moves and just graphics, and then he's gonna stab him in the head. Yeah, so these guys are just absolute monsters. It's gonna be fun. So whether it's solo or co-op play, as long as the multiplayer works, and they get that one, because the beta test I don't think actually panned out. It looks like it's gonna be fun. It really, really does. So that one I know is going to be coming September 9th. So that one I'll leave on screen for a little while, just because that's another one that I do want to highlight. Glorious glory. Yeah, it's like, it's just going to be just over the top action, pure crazy. But Saber Interactive made it. You've got Focus Entertainment, I think, publishing it. PS5, I don't know if it's coming. Hold on, I want to look. The biggest thing about it is I want to know what platforms it's coming to. Because I'm sure Xbox is getting it too. Yeah, Xbox Series, it's getting it too. Okay, so no issues there that I know of. That one is coming. Just, yeah, go look it up. It looks legit fantastic. It does. It looks really cool. Yeah, so you got Steam, PC, basically PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. Gonna cover all of them. And Space Marine looks actually pretty legit. So that one should be a ton of fun, something to look forward to. And that's September 9th. Like, I mean, depending on if you think about how many games you're going to be playing. Black Myth Wukong. Say that's like a 30, 40 hour. I've heard it could be a big game. I mean, it's been built up for years now, so I'm hoping it's pretty good size. I know when I played Neo before, I don't imagine it's Elden Ring size. I will say that, Black Myth Wukong. But if it's like Neo 2, that was like 40 to 50 hours because the game was big and it's still going to be a challenge. So you got a 40 to 50 hour game on the 20th. Now, depending on what you play next, you can add your hours accordingly. If you're a World of Warcraft guy, well, you're probably diving straight into that on the 26th. If you are playing Visions of Mana, that's on the 29th. If you're playing Star Wars Outlaws, that's on the 30th. And you've still got to get through about 40 to 50 hours of gaming. And if you're a normal person, not a content creator, then it's going to be kind of hard to even finish Black Myth Wukong before any of those other ones come out. Then you get over to September, where you've got Astrobot, and then you've also got Warhammer on the 6th and the 9th of September. That's still not a ton of time when it comes to trying to squeeze in whatever game is going to be next. And I think that's where some of this is going to get a little crazy for a lot of people, and how some things get missed lately. Things get picked up later on sales and stuff like that, because Warhammer Space Marine suit looks really cool, but it's like, are you going to have enough time? Is it going to have a space to like breathe and land? And that's always the question. And then we're going to have Gamescom. Who knows what we're going to get information-wise from that. Okay, so that's September 9th. What is after that? There's a couple smaller indie games, like Rekka, I think, is one that's launching on PC Early Access. You got Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, apparently is launching on Thursday the 12th. What else we got? So Inatria, The Last Song, that's another one. So let me pull this one up real quick. This one, I've actually got a demo, and I've heard the demo is like 8 hours. So that's one I've actually, like, the main reason, like, this one surprised me, mostly because, Vati Vidya, the guy who does, it's like the big lore videos for, Dark Souls games. He actually mentioned this one, and he doesn't do that. He doesn't go out of his way to mention another game. This is like an Italian Souls, to my understanding. So I don't feel like it's going to be as big of a budget when it comes to, you know, your blacksmiths and your FromSoft games and even your Team Ninja or Bandai Namco. Like, the big publishers, I'm not quite sure it's going to be there. But if it's got his eye, Vati Video alone being like that much of a fan, and if it's something to watch, it's one I've got my eye on. So this one comes out the 18th of September. Looks really cool. So if you guys are again listening on screen, hopefully I balanced the audio reasonably. Let me know if the audio coming through, because this is going to be podcast. Let me know if that's going to come through and be like reasonably to hear. I have it turned down a bit, but hopefully like if I just play this on a podcast, it comes through with my voice, but also kind of some of the action and stuff. But you've got like parries, decent sized enemies. And I always enjoy an action game that really wants to like make things challenging, have tight combat, and it's always going to be about the combat first, like this. So if you're looking for kind of your parry type game, this could be a bit more of your style. Like, the combat actually seems mobile and fast enough for jumping around. Graphics look kind of its own, but, you know, a little more still in the vein of a Souls game, but still kind of its own twist on things. Definitely seeing some massive pairing. So, I mean, just like, it's going to be some fun action combat. I think it is. And this is on the 18th of September. So we're not actually that far away. And there's just so much that's going to be here. So that one, so this says August 21st. This calendar I'm looking at says September 18th. Natria. Release date. When is that? September 19th is correct. So ignore that one. Yeah, the demo's out there. So the demo's sitting out there. That's probably just an older trailer. But yeah, it is September 18th or 19th, whenever probably that hits hours-wise. This looks a lot of fun. Now, for the PC players, you've got God of War Ragnarok coming on September 19th. If you didn't play it on PC, oh man, you're in for a lot of fun. I really like those games. I mean, there are a few masterpieces that I would give to a lot of things, but just my experience in the God of War games, I mean, combat, hella fun, challenging. You've got a little in-game grind that you can go for. The gear grind is not too much, but you kind of notice the differences. And the story, the voice acting, the motion capture, the animation, just a whole damn package of both of those games for me was just epic. 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10, damn near 10 out of 10. I mean, they're a masterpiece to me. If I'm going to say, hey, what are some of my favorite games of the generation? Those are up there, for sure. Just because, like, the mythology, and especially Ragnarok, took it so big. There was a lot that happened in Ragnarok. Still a fantastic game, though. So that's on the 18th. The 19th is that one. You've also got Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Saw some people were playing that one. Then we come over to another one that I want to show you guys. I did not play the first one, but Frostpunk 2. This is one of those that, for me, looks... It's 11-bit studios, and they've been on fire. Frostpunk 2 is truly going to be a game that would, like, kind of break some people mentally to make some of the decisions you have to make. It's like, oh, basically the conditions are awful, and you're trying to find a way to have your world survive. Well, you need more workers, so do you start having the children in your city work so you can have more production or more heat or more food? But then are the children going to get sick, or are you going to end up having to kill the children? The other option, if you don't have them work, what do? Do you kill a certain number of people so the rest of them can survive? Basically, there's never a good choice. Yeah, that was a real decision in the first one. That's kind of what I heard. And this one seems like it's just going to take it to a crazy level. Basically, it's a horrible environment, and you're trying to run this city. So here's an example. Too many mouths to feed. This is Frostpunk 2, in case you're like catching a weird moment of listening to this. Steward. So you're the steward of the town, or the mayor, or whatever you want to call your title. People are suffering from overpopulation, and a group of engineers have come forward with the solution. Oh, goody. Catch-22, the video game. That's actually a really good way to say it. Yeah, it's like, not quite Sophie's Choice, but it is like your double-edged sword. If you do this thing, this is also going to happen. There's no need for the struggle with this issue to continue. We have an idea that could end it. Let us pursue it, and all will benefit. The engineers want to solve the problem of population. Um, somebody's like, I'm an engineer. Not all our decisions are to kill people. So you can investigate the solution, handle the population another way, or disregard the issue. So if there's too many mouths to feed, then the question is, who wants to solve the problem? If you let the engineers investigate the solution, they may come up with a contraption that works or doesn't, or maybe if you go down this road, it's not going to be the most pleasant in the world, but... And again, just everything is just dark and gloomy. So you got your resources up top. So it definitely has the look of an RTS world, kind of from your main... How long have I been muted? Hopefully not too long. I just touched my mic, so hopefully not long. I did not play the first Frostpunk, but I always heard people were just like, man, that is a heck of a game. Weird journey, just different tough choices, that kind of thing. If you want RTS, you want, tough choices, the RTS game, here you go. I feel like this is going to be it. Like, absolutely horrible conditions, trying to get through it is going to be something that's just like... I'm not entirely sure, honestly, but... because I haven't really been too much into it. I'm trying to let the trailer go to see what it says. Steward. So Ian McTavish, 45 years old. He's a miner, afraid to end up on the street. Insufficient housing leads to discontent. So then you got to figure out, is there enough housing? Well, that's a problem with overpopulation. If there's not enough houses, then the population is just wandering the streets. It's just going to be, somebody's like, yeah, I play games to get away from reality and population control with certain issues. Nah, that's not a good time. And again, there's a certain audience who will want to check this out, just because they enjoy some of the chaos and masochism that comes with like this type of anguish and pain. On the other side, you've got people who are just like, back from the dead that are probably like, I probably won't. And it's going to be interesting, but this is September 20th, I think that's the official date now. I know it moved at one point, which I'm kind of glad it did, but Frostpunk delayed to September 20th. And then some people are like, it'll be delayed till summer of 2025. Honestly, the way like the game schedule is like packed right now, if you have the finances to like find a better window, if nothing else, and then polish up your game, probably do it. But if it's ready, you probably also just got to release it. So here's another one. Eleanor Gilmore, 33 factory worker, longs for a full meal. Can you feed all of the people that are in your like city? Probably not. Did you say interesting releasing it behind Satisfactory? Yeah, is Satisfactory getting like a... Satisfactory... Is it getting like a 1.0 or something? September 10th, yeah. I played a little bit of that. I know a couple friends that played a bunch of Satisfactory, but this is just very different. Like, Satisfactory is kind of like cathartic, calming, make the machines work and kind of have everything get more and more efficient and stuff like that. This is just like tough decisions and stuff. I'd rather be sick. Experimental treatment breeds resentment. It's just, nothing is going to go well. Oh, there's a whole lot of red on screen now. Technocrats protest efficiency bounties. What is an efficiency bounty? That just sounds like people are going to die. Steward, the technocrats have begun a series of protests in the industrial district. Power is distributed as they hijack public broadcasting systems, angrily calling out engineers and you specifically. The agitators push for the city to move along a different path. An excerpt from their broadcast, our society must progress past mere survival. We need a new vision and rules to allow us to thrive. Our calculations are clear. We have to end the stagnation of efficiency bounties and establish equal pay. Technocrats refuse to stop disruptions until their demands are met. So you can either wait them out, see what happens to your city, or agree to their demands, but then probably piss off the engineers. Man, this is just back and forth choices where things go down. There's going to be a lot of non-successful attempts at Frostpunk 2. I'm sure if you can actually ever get to a state of homeostasis, you have won the game, and you should probably not try again. This seems pretty crazy, actually. I mean, it looks cool. I mean, you're getting all the way into like law proposals and kind of like a, almost like a congressional type of room. How do we compensate the workers? Equal pay. Labor is labor, and thus all will earn equally. This will eliminate discrepancy between workers and the elite. So there's 44, 11 are undecided, and 49 are against that one. Do you pressure delegates? Do you negotiate, or do you vote? Oh man, this is kind of nuts. Like, this would be a really fun game, I think, to stream. So if I can save this for a point wherever I have time, which will be never, but I think this would be a really fun game to stream with you guys, and then hopefully try and like play through the decisions with you guys online and see how this one plays out, because yeah, just these type of decisions seem pretty crazy. And if you vote, so it was rejected. So equal pay, was that equal pay was rejected? Yeah. So equal pay was rejected. So that means the elites get more, the others get less, and then the city must not fall. But it most likely will, is kind of the whole point. So Frostpunk 2, definitely one. Crazier game, not for everybody, but I think a very cool experience. And I'm happy they get to make a second one. You've got Greedfall 2 and also Ara History Untold, like same day. So Ara History Untold, I'm pretty sure that is PC through Xbox. That's going to be turn-based strategy, kind of in the vein of Civilization, possibly. I don't know much about that one at all, but it looks like it's got that historic, if it's turn-based, then you're kind of going through, it's a 4X game, so that makes sense. And then Greedfall, that one I know is a bit different. So Greedfall 2, I don't quite know what type of game Greedfall 2 is. That's one of those, like Greedfall 2. What is it? Travel across the landscapes of Olima, to the shores, undiscovered secrets of the lands. Currently, there's early access going on, previews, so some people have played. I think it's just probably going to 1.0. And then to top everything else off, you've got Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which I've heard is like isometric Tears of the Kingdom or isometric Breath of the Wild. It sounds like, I'm not going to play. Greedfall was a really, I imagine the sequel would be more of the same. I did not know it was that style of game. I did not play it. But on September 26th, you've got Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which I'm not playing a Nintendo game until I get a Switch 2, just because I've waited this long. I didn't play Tears of the Kingdom. I know I missed my window on that one, but if I get a Switch 2, then hopefully I have some fun stuff to go back and play. At some point, we know they're getting a new Switch, and I feel like if I'm going to buy the game, I'll buy it once later, because I am busy enough right now that I'm probably not going to have too much to worry about there. So that covers most of September. Tokyo Game Show is on the 26th. Some people are speculating that there's going to be a PlayStation State of Play or some type of PlayStation something in September, because they've done it before. Then we get into October. And October 8th, you've got Silent Hill 2. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot to mention. So August 27th, which is the day after World of Warcraft, and 3 days before Star Wars Outlaws, and 1 week after Black Myth Wukong, is going to be Destiny 2 Echoes Act 3, which, from what our understanding is going to have the biggest exotic quest they've done yet, which means you guys know I'm going to be busy on the 27th, which is a problem, because I need to actually cover and make that day. So World of Warcraft, I have like my window where I need to do that stuff, so it's like, to go back, I gotta look up my dates. So I have between the 26th and the 30th to do that. So World may be something I revisit a little bit later. Sleep? Yeah, there's never going to be enough caffeine for that. Okay, so I'm going to take this off here. So yeah, that is episode Act 3, the day of your birthday. Coincidence? I think not. Should be fun. So yeah, August 27th is Echoes Act 3, and I think the big exotic quest. We do know there's still going to be a weekly cadence to the rest of this episode's story. And then, this is why I mentioned this, is because you'll finish the story on September 10th. So that's when you're going to finish the story. Then you have the 17th, the 24th, and the 3rd for the final 3 weeks of that episode. October 8th, you have episode 2, Revenant. If I think I have that name right, I feel like, what's the last one? I just need to know the last one because I keep second guessing. I think Revenant is the second one. Heresy. Heresy is the last one. Okay. Bruce is like, for crying out loud, forgot about Act 3. Yeah, exactly. Channel my inner Travis that week. Yeah. Will you also be streaming WoW? I'm actually going to stream WoW. Part of it is for an opportunity that I've got. But the other side of it, with that opportunity, I haven't played in probably 15 years. So if you're going to ask me to do that, I kind of want to. Like, I haven't played it in so long, which means I actually probably need to play a little this weekend. So I might try and, like, get a character up to some understanding before I jump in and be completely stupid. But yeah, it's been 15 years since I've played the main expansion that I played. I dabbled a little bit somewhere in the past 15 years, but Wrath of the Lich King was my last major one. Didn't play Cataclysm. And then I probably tried something later, but it didn't probably last very long. So it's been a minute. Anyway, October 8th, you have episode 2, Revenant. We're getting basically that entire act on that day. I don't think I can go back to Final Fantasy XIV now. Yeah. When's the last time? Yeah, it's like, it'll be weird, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so episode 2 we know is dropping all at once. Sorry, said that wrong. Episode 2, Revenant, each act will drop all at once. So, too much effort like I'm describing. That's fair, yeah. If you just played too much and it's been too long, you're good. So, on the 8th, we're going to get at least 3 weeks of story, at a minimum. We're going to get whatever activities come with Act 1, and that's all going to happen on the 8th. On that same day, Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred is coming out. That is the actual expansion for Diablo 4. I haven't played pretty much since. I haven't played a seasonal piece of Diablo 4. Haven't. Mostly because I didn't want to make a new character every time. I got my character to a decent point. But Vessel of Hatred is what I was like, I'm going to come back for whenever they continue the story. So I'm going to be there for the expansion. Maybe the next day, but that is a problem of timing. Also, on October 8th, you have Silent Hill 2. Now, I didn't play the first one. I watched the movie. Very cool and intriguing. If the remake can live up to anything reasonable, we will see how it goes. Hold on, give me a quick pause. I gotta blow my nose. All of this, and I literally just got around to playing Baldur's Gate 3 last week. You have like 150 hours of Baldur's Gate 3 ahead of you. Good luck with that. That's another reason I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3. It's too big, and I would love to play it. Don't have the time. I really, really want to, though. I think that'd be a fun one to stream and play through with you guys and just see what happens. The current saves of Diablo 4 is really good in both story, leveling, and what only gets rough once you get to level 100 and beyond. I've heard they've really made the Diablo grind faster. More fun. I don't know how they're doing with the character balancing and stuff like that, but I think they're handling the seasons reasonably, and the leveling speed of seasons seems to not be crazy. I know Tassie plays like everything, but it seems like he's getting characters pretty high, so it's probably reasonable to jump into. I'm just kind of curious where things are going to be for an expansion, because usually expansions comes with like big system drops and kind of updates, so I'm curious what comes there. I think they did like a stream on that one. I haven't caught up on everything there. It's just a bunch. Let's see. Then on the 10th, we have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. That is the day before the Metaphor ReFantazio game. So I don't know if Sparking Zero is like an action game, but then Metaphor ReFantazio, that's like turn-based RPG. I think it's from Atlas. They do all the Persona games. So I know everybody's really excited about that one. So between Episode 2, Heresy, Silent Hill 2, and Diablo 4 on Tuesday the 8th, and then you have Metaphor ReFantazio on the 11th, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero on the 10th. I know some people are excited for that. That's a lot. Then when you get later on, you've got Steam Next Fest. That's going to be on... Finally feels like Steam Next Fest is not going to be in the middle of like a game release, crazily enough. That's going to be the 14th to the 21st, possibly. Then Call of Duty is going to be on the 25th of October. We all know that one's going to be pretty big. And that's going to kind of take care of the rest of October. November, you've got the Mario and Luigi game, which looks kind of cool. You've got Assassin's Creed Shadows on November 15th. Flight Simulator on the 19th. Stalker 2. I wonder if is Stalker 2 still holding, or did that get moved? I swear that game's going to end up in Foreverland, but right now it's currently at November 20th. Why did I think that got moved, like, again? Like, am I crazy? I think November 20th is holding. I don't know if it's next year, but yep. What's up, MDY? Am I going to GCX this weekend? I am not, unfortunately. I am sitting at home. Travel was just going to be a whole bunch of chaos, and for me, it just didn't pan out. So I was going to go to Travis's wedding instead. Then Travis's wedding trip had to get canceled, and hadn't planned for the trip to GCX because of that. And it's just, there's too much going on, and apparently I'm just not meant to travel right now, so sad, but oh well. Making the drive over from Tampa later this evening. Nice, there you go. Never gotten Dragon Ball. I was grown when the anime came out, so I missed it. Thundercats was more your area. There you go. So yeah, Flight Simulator in November, Stalker 2 in November. And what else? December. Then you got a whole bunch of like question marks. You got like Indiana Jones. We don't know where that one's going to land. There's a lot of Xbox stuff. We just don't know where it's going to land. But that is just like a very packed few months right now with a whole bunch of stuff that's just building and building to be more and more. Seems kind of truly crazy. So that is part of what I wanted to talk about today. Is just all of that stuff. Oh, Dragon Age. I'm sorry. Dragon Age is on October 31st. We have that one now as well. So Dragon Age now has an official release date. That was today for October 31st. That's potentially going to be another sizable game. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. So my order of operations currently for August, the rest of this month, we've got Black Myth Wukong, Star Wars Outlaws, World of Warcraft, War Within. Concord is in there for those who are going for it. Core Keeper looks like a fun indie game. Squirrel with a Gun is on the 29th. Visions of Mana is also on the 29th. Then September, Frostpunk 2, Inatria, Space Marine, Astrobot, Quidditch Cup, God of War on PC, Dead Rising Deluxe. September is pretty stacked too. Legend of Zelda, and then you get into October, which now has to get updated, but that one is going to be Happy Halloween, because you're going to get... Is it Halloween? I just looked at one... Too many websites open. Sorry about that. 30th or 31st, but it has a date now. Yeah, you got Call of Duty on the 25th. You've got Metaphor ReFantazio on October 11th. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero on October 10th. October 8th, as I said, was Diablo, Silent Hill, and Destiny's new episode. And then now you've got Dragon Age at the end of that month. And then you've got Assassin's Creed in November. That one is... Assassin's Creed is actually like 3 weeks away from Call of Duty. That's actually reasonably placed. I'll give him credit for that. Stalker 2 a few days later. And then December's usually pretty light. My guess, since we don't know when Indiana Jones is coming about, me and my older community always, right? Stalker 2, I don't know if I'm going to get to that one. I'm a little curious to see how it gets reviewed after this long in development. It seems just kind of crazy. So yeah, October. Now I've got like October 30. What is it? 10/31. How am I doing the date? 10/31. Really? Sorry, I have a little spreadsheet where I keep track of all of the games that I'm kind of following. So we'll add Dragon Age, Veilguard on October 31st. Still probably missing a few, but yeah, like the next, that's a lot of games. Like so many good games, the backlog just keeps growing. That's kind of where I'm at. Like I am fortunate enough to be in a position as a creator. You guys have supported me for an extremely long period of time. To try and get to play some of these without spending money out of my pocket, but there is no way I have the time to get my hands on like enough time to be able to play all of these. That's the crazy part. Like I might be able to get the games into a library or anything like that, but to be able to find time to sit down and play all of these, no one has that much time. So you got to pick and focus. So Black Myth Wukong, number 1, World of Warcraft, number 2, Star Wars Outlaws, number 3, Space Marine, number 4, Inatria, probably in there. Maybe Frostpunk, depending on timing of what I can get access to. I won't play Legend of Zelda just because I'll wait on that one. But then October 8th, Vessel of Hatred, Destiny 2. That'll keep me busy for a minute. Yeah, that's the other thing, is not a lot of these are small. If you want to try and like play Frostpunk 2, you're probably going to be at that for a pretty big while. It's going to take you some time to go through. It is a little crazy that there's this much going on. Also crazy that Wrath of the Lich King came out in 2008. And that was really the last big one I played. Truly was. So to say I'm going to be busy is probably an understatement. But there's a lot that I'm looking forward to, and hopefully you guys are too. Because I was streaming, currently I've been playing just because I'm like, right before Black Myth comes out, I was playing Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess. I'm about 12 and a half hours in. I think if I look at the chapter list, I am on chapter 18, or level 18, I should say, of 27. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know if I could finish it tonight, but I kind of want to try and make that push. Because 18's a regular area. 19 is going to be regular, but has a boss fight, so I got to watch my health. 20 and 21 will be regulars. Then a boss fight. 23 and 24 regulars. Boss fight, regular, boss fight. Like, I got 10 levels left, so I'm kind of where I can kind of make a push to finish it, and it would be nice to play a game and finish one for a change. Shoot, you haven't finished all the Pale Heart stuff? I mean, honestly, me neither. And if you guys will give me just a second, audio listeners, stay tuned. I'm going to get you guys some background music for some tunes, and then we will wrap up kind of talking about Destiny. So give me just a sec. So I know that's a really, really, really long explanation to get to kind of where I'm going to land at this point. And this is kind of where I do want to talk to some of you guys who are in chat about Destiny. And if you guys are listening later on, hit me up on Twitter, leave a comment wherever you find this thing. I'm curious your feedback, because this is where Destiny is at, and this is why it kind of makes it difficult, I think, for a lot of people right now to jump into Destiny. So you've got Solstice. Some people just are not bothered about jumping in. There's a lot of content creators doing tier lists right now. 1, because they're out of town for GCX, and 2, there's not a lot else to cover. I mean, you've got Mactix, who was going hard on builds and everything like that, but it's like, you can do build guides, but also part of it is like, what are you doing it for? Like, I didn't get the kinetic heavy trace rifle, but I just kind of got to the point where for me, I don't know what the future holds, and I do want to keep playing the story, but what do I need to play the story and experience kind of the general events? Do I care about triumphs? That's less of a thing that I care about. But for me, is it something that, like, I really, Microcosm, yep, that's the one. But do I need every triumph for every weapon or every crafted thing? Like right now, I know the episodes are going to be going for a very long time. So once I unlocked the ability to log in and get a red border every week, as long as I try and remember to do that on most weeks, I'm going to get most of my red borders. I don't need to farm. If I do a little bit here, a little bit there, toss some engrams in, I'll get my red borders and I'll be fine. But I'm not really like driven to get all of the best red borders in the world because I'm like, what am I really using it for? The biggest thing I could probably see that I'd be using it for, and probably why I need to try and squeeze a little bit of time in to do maybe a couple of pinnacles or something, is the exotic quest. That's the biggest thing. I think the exotic quest, if I'm going to try and solo it, is probably going to be one of those things. If I'm a little below level scaling, it's going to work against me. Because right now, my character is... I'm unpaused. Trying to log back into Dim here. Like, I honestly haven't been playing that much. So I'm like 1995 and 4/8. So I've just been slowly working on my pinnacles. And it's just kind of one of those things. If you are higher level, the pinnacles are going to help you out. So there's some benefit to that. But that's really the only place to where if I'm trying to do a piece of solo content, being the highest level I can for an episode or a season or whatever it may be, can have some benefit. But if I can get my pinnacles kind of capped out and they don't bump up the pinnacle level for the future episodes, leveling really isn't going to be a thing. So it's like I'm not in a huge rush. Only reason I probably could potentially think about it is for content purposes, but right now it's just I'm not in a huge rush to level up. And I think for a lot of people right now, we know Frontiers is something. There are rumors as to what that is. Big questions arise as to how it's going to get delivered, but that's a whole different matter entirely. When it comes to a reason to keep playing, we've always had a big villain or a big expansion or something coming up on the way for a very long time. I'm kind of at the post-Avengers in-game situation, kind of not as checked in as I used to be. I'll check out new stuff, but I'm kind of like whatever about it, and I think that's fair. I knew 100% like the population drop-off, there was no question in my mind that would happen, just because there are so many people that are going to take Destiny 2, and they're going to say, I made it through. Right now, there are 33,000 people playing. Now, that sounds like a pretty good number, but if you go over the fact of over the last month, it's gone from like your daily peak of like 96,000 on July 17th, which is about a month and a half after the expansion that peaked damn near almost at a record. But you were 96,000, and then now we're down to 39,000 for a peak. Under 40,000 for a peak is quite low. Like, you're scratching at the bottom numbers, and especially Solstice is just not that exciting. Yeah, we don't have anything to prepare for. There's no big bad. We know the Winnower exists from lore that came out of Salvation's Edge. Problem is, we don't know what that could possibly be. It feels like something like the Winnower is something you would, like, have to go off into another galaxy or somewhere to try and even go hunt down, chase, or otherwise. Something along those lines, and that feels like a big grand experience that like D3 would be. We're not going to be getting a D3. There's nothing in the cards that says that. And right now, we're at a point to where Destiny 3 is a hard thing for a lot of people to not want, because we've been playing this game for 7-8 years now. Like, most of my loot, my exotics, my build, my mods, my armor, all that stuff can take care of most of the things the game can throw at me. I can handle it one way or another, where it's new gear or old gear. So it's really hard. Like, I will give them credit. I mean, they've got rocket sidearms in the game, but that just kind of puts other things to shame. But like, they are really trying to like horizontally grow the game. But it's hard, because after a while, there's only so much you can do. You can have like a teaspoon that is like 10,000 feet wide, but if you don't have any depth to your game, that's where it gets tough. And that's honestly why, like, I didn't go as hard on, say, like, the first Ascendant grind. But the fact that I got to the campaign, and I got to level 100 in the first Ascendant, but I know, after a really long grind, that my character could be way, 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 way more powerful than it is currently. That is, like, a level of grind that Destiny does not have. Just straight up doesn't exist. Now, part of that is because it's PvE and PvP, and that is something that they at some point probably have to either kiss off or keep together, but it's just like the fact that there is no long-term pursuit. Like, if I get a decent set of armor, I'm good. Hasn't really had to change in a very long time. Like, if you do get your God Roll class item, then you're lucky. If you don't, obviously that grind is pretty terrible for some people. But if you get a good class item for Prismatic, great. I don't need another one, possibly, if I know my build works. Eventually, there's enough in the game, there's enough content about the game, there's enough weapons and armor and things, you will find some system of combination of things that works, and you don't really need to go get another one because there's not much of a challenge out there that you need to go do. Now, if you want to go do low mans and raids and stuff like that, but just reasonably normal content, not just like, here's this boss mode on hard mode now. You're like, well, what does that get me? Not really much. And that's kind of the problem with Destiny. There are things that are more difficult than the average content. Like if you want to do a normal raid, you got to get some coordination going on. It's probably not going to be easy. If you want to go do a hard mode raid, why am I going to do that? Okay, what are my options? I'm going to get possibly adept weapons, which are going to have extra perks. Maybe I already have perks. Maybe I've got weapons that fill that slot already. So that incentive gets lessened for most people except the hardcore. Then you've got the armor, where you can get Artifice Armor, which has the little bonus perk slot now for the +3 stat bonus, which is nice if you have a full set. The problem with that is if you go through an entire raid, the RNG on the stats and the stat distribution and getting yourself a good piece of armor, when it's only a +3 bonus versus all of the armor drops that you probably already had and you have a pretty good one. Like if I have a 67 and I've got a good one versus a 64, not going to make much of a difference if I get an okay piece of Artifice Armor. If I get a 62 Artifice, I'm actually having less stats in doing that. So it's not like I'm going into a high-end raid and I'm getting gear that is dropping stats that's like 70 to 80. If that was a thing, that would give a lot more people incentive because you would actually be able to get higher stats, have your builds be a little bit more powerful. It wouldn't be a lot, but it would seem like numbers would go up enough. You're like, okay, now I can start moving some stats and mods around and really start to buff up my stats. Now, I don't know if that would break the PvP game, but that is part of the problem. And it has been for a long time. PvP in and of itself is also damn near impossible to balance because of everything I just described. It's a really hard thing that they've got to try and figure out. And I think for, I would say, a lot of people at this point, 7 to 8 years of all of this might be enough. Maybe not for everybody. Totally get it. Yeah, even adept weapons aren't that appealing. The difference between them and normal weapons isn't huge. Yeah, you can have double perk columns and you can enhance more than one perk, so then you can move stuff around and you can have efficiency, but it's like, what is the law? You're just, again, it's a lot of horizontal, mostly, grinding that you're going for. There's not a lot of verticality. You're not getting more powerful. You're not getting more stats. You're not getting more powerful perks. Like, the enhanced ones are really, really minor. There's a little bit, but they're minor mostly. So for me, I just have not been that compelled to go hard on Destiny. I will see the story through. I will keep doing that until the game dies, or until they wrap up whatever Destiny 2 is going to be. If there's a future Destiny experience, I feel like that's very far off. And the reason is, from all the information that came out between the layoffs and the news and the 5 different incubation projects, and then Destiny 2 being a live service game, and then you've got Marathon, which they want to have live support with as well because it needs to make money. Destiny 2 having the final shape be a 9 out of 10 expansion from Travis, which I agree, is a damn good expansion, not selling as many as Lightfall is just a state of the player base, unfortunately. Because Lightfall, being as big and hyped up as it was, being as bad as it was, turned off a lot of people, and you're not going to get them back. Just some are not coming. They're like, I'm done. I will check out the video highlights on YouTube of the cinematics, and I will move on with my day. And that is just where some people are at. And that's just the problem with a franchise going on and on and on, but also a problem with a franchise that has had a really bad onboarding process for a very long time. We have talked about this for forever. I talked to some of the Bungie people at GCX when I was there about, like, what is the new player experience? Like, is there anything you can do to make it better? And they've honestly just steered away from it more. With Final Shape, they were just like, you can skip everything, grab a box of loot, and go shoot stuff. That's pretty much where they got to. You stopped before Witch Queen. And you're still listening to the podcast. I am thoroughly impressed, Spectre. But I think mostly just because you're here because I'm on Twitch. it is really hard to incentivize people to play a game if you can't get friends to start it. Yes, but I do other stuff as well. I try and do a lot of different stuff, indeed. If you can't get friends to play it, it's hard for you to play it. And if friends want to play other stuff, you might get pulled away too. So, and also, there's a lot of people who play this game that sit there and be like, ask their friends, should I jump in? Is now a good time? And more often than not, for a few years now, it's been like, well, yes, maybe, no, possibly. Here, I'm going to put a little lotion on my hands because I feel like with like 3 dogs and dog walks and everything else and just doing dishes, my hands get dry lately. Every so often, I just try and be reasonable. I feel like my face, I know this is a totally random tangent. My face, I feel like, because I use, it's like Nivea. I don't know if it's sensitive or not, and it's not like I have sensitive skin, but it's like Nivea. It's just like an aloe aftershave. It's like, I don't use face lotion like most women probably do. But I was like, I swear, like, that's the only thing keeping my face and complexion reasonable at 41. Probably helps me get guessed at a lower age, but yeah. There's a comedian that makes a joke, I think, about that stuff, but I'll leave that to the inquisitive minds if you want to go try and figure out what the heck I'm talking about. Anyway. But yeah, it's really hard. If you just bleed players constantly, it's really hard for you to make money in a continual basis and see line and numbers go up. Bill Burr, I think, maybe... Yeah, I think Bill Burr might have done the one. It's like you need to expand your radius from one region. So yeah, it's a fun one. So yeah, we're going to see low numbers over the course of, now you have a lot of content creators out at GCX that won't be streaming. So the less people are like, I don't really want to play right now, whatever it is. All that's going to be going on. And then if episode 3, like if this episode finishes up, my real question, I think, is going to be, you have people that were able to buy the final shape, just the expansion. And with just the expansion, they still got episode echoes. Unfortunately, echoes, I don't think, sold a lot of people on what episodes are. They are seasons and everything but the name, just done in a different time format. So if people spent like the $50 for final shape, but then did not get the annual pass, I don't know how many people are going to be jumping into Heresy, all sorts of excited. That thing better come out of the gate just like guns blazing, dungeon. I don't know how the timing on that's going to work, but all I know is, see, that's October 8th. Why? Why does Heresy, possibly with a dungeon, I don't know when they're going to drop it. Yeah, that October 8th timing is going to be real awful for me. But it is all of that. It's like, you have people that probably bought Final Shape. Cool, that was a really awesome experience. Season of the Echoes. That wasn't great. All right, I'm probably not going to pick up the other seasons, or the episodes, see, even I get the name wrong. And I'm kind of done. So then they are going to have less, and I think less people for episode 2 and episode 3. And then you get to the point of Frontiers. We don't know what it is. Now, speculation is smaller content packs at this point. Obviously, the size of your labor force has changed when you lay off that many people. I mean, when you lay off, 150 went to Sony somewhere. I think it was 220 that got laid off, and then 75 was another incubation project. It was a lot. I mean, you went from like, what would it be, September of last year to now, in 12 months or less than 12 months, you lost, I think, half of your studio, almost damn near exactly from everything I've heard. Your studio's almost half the size. They stretched themselves too thin. Yeah, and then you've got all the people working on Marathon 2, and Marathon's not even as big of a team as it was. So there's a lot of pressure on Marathon, and here's the situation where everybody probably wants a D3. I've said it for, like, off and on for a while. I'm okay, clean slate, let's work on it. The problem is, to build a Destiny 3, you would have had to take the people that were working on Marathon, and when they started working on Marathon, they needed to actually be working on a Destiny 3. So at this point in time, when we finished up the final shape, hey, Destiny 3 could be a year or 2 out, and that's something Sony could look at. Hey, this will be a big launch. Final shape was a finisher. Might have some light seasonal content between there. Who knows? But however they choose to wrap that thing up, D3 is out there. The problem is that group has been working on Marathon, and that is a lot of the senior people. And now that group that Marathon has been working on has even more pressure on them. 1, because of the issues of the studio, and 2, the slow kind of inevitable decline of Destiny. And with Marathon being It's an extraction shooter to our understanding, but now it seems instead of a custom character, you're going to have classes. That seems a little weird since the Valorant guy came in. I don't know how that's going to work. So you've got some problems with like planning. Then you have the incubation project. Sounds like Gummy Bear went off to PlayStation. That's its own studio. Happy those people made something cool and it gets to be something else. Payback, kind of a third-person Genshin style characters from the Destiny universe adventure action game. That could have been cool. Honestly, I think some people were like up and down on it, but I think if it was done well, it actually could be really fantastic. Given time to like gestate and grow and be developed, but that didn't happen. So you lost Luke and Mark, they're gone. Now maybe they're working on it somewhere else, but they're not there anymore. You still have people like Tom Farnsworth just absolutely putting in the work day after day after day to try and put out the best seasonal content that they can. But some of that stuff's temporary. Some of that stuff will be gone in a year. The Destiny content vault still sounds like it's going to be a thing from any of the rumors that we've got. The game size is ballooning and all of this stuff is happening all over again. And you have less QA, player support team. You have composers that have left. You have artists that have left. There's a lot of talent that is gone from that studio. And to think now, when you're trying to keep Destiny 2 going on these episodes that are like a little bigger than seasons, but they don't seem like much, but then there's still some live service stuff. Then you have the marathon team that is just like gung-ho ahead. There's not a lot of people probably left, I would imagine, between those two massive projects, like the keeping Destiny 2 going, and then marathon, and then whatever the content packs are, which are going to be whichever, like Destiny 2 Frontiers is rumored to be those content packs. And if those are smaller expansions, less story to them, here's some like whatever the rumors are that are out there about them, they seem to be like 6 months maybe broken apart. It does feel like this is just going to be kind of the slow death of like the Destiny population. And if you're there long enough to see that story wrap up, maybe. But for a lot of people, I think the story wrapped up when they finished the Final Shape campaign and they were good. They're like, hey, you can go adventure around this solar system, do some stuff around here, or you can just be like, hey, long ago, pyramid ships and the Witness were a thing and an issue. We finally faced off with the Witness inside of the Traveler, and we seem to have resolved the big baddie in the world of Destiny 2, and they're kind of done. And in my head, that actually seems pretty reasonable. So I don't blame people for that either. So that's where it's like, I feel like a lot of people in their motivation to play Destiny is falling off because of all of the stuff I said. And you could pick any number of those things, and maybe that's the one thing for you when you're just like, I'm kind of okay. You get a couple of those together and you get a lot of games coming out that are going to pull people away. I mean, I listed a game in probably damn near every genre. So if one of those sounds appealing to you, then you're going to have a pretty easy time stepping away. And that's where, I mean, Spectral Divide, you're going to have its playtest, and Black Myth Wukong is coming out. And then you have stuff like Once Human that's going to go through its seasons. And the First Descendant still got a console player base that still seems, and more and more and more things are going to be pulling at these people trying to play. Like, where's First Descendant now? Where is it at? Trying to see what its population is at. Yeah, First Descendant's like, my thing about the First Descendant was the fact that, like, I know what the grind looked like for the in-game stuff to do, like, bosses on hard mode and really optimized characters is just a lot of time. And that's why I went through on Once Human and I played a character. I'm almost up to level 50, and then you're going to have like another PvE scenario, but that might not happen until October, so then that timing might be horrible. Maybe I'll jump into that later. But Once Human is kind of cool if they polish that game a lot and make it better. But for kind of an early thing, it's got quite a bit of potential in my head. So do I want to go make progress on Once Human, work a little bit more there, or any of the other 20 games that I've got, or do I want to log into Destiny for another day? And I think for me, it's just the second one's hard to do now. So we will still keep talking about games and other things. The last word is meant to be a bit more open-ended, where it's, you know, me and Cognito and Travis talking about games. Destiny will be in there when it's a thing, and it will be less of a thing when it's not. We made it through 300 episodes, which I am pleased about. I just don't know how often I'm going to keep those guys around, especially if they're busy doing other things, covering other stuff, to talk about Destiny every single week. It's like the stories will be there, but it's going to probably be even harder, I think, when you have 6 weeks of story or 3 weeks of story, but you get 6 weeks of Destiny content on week 1. We can all play it then, but then you have 5 weeks where it's either going to be a seasonal activity, something like Festival of the Lost or whatever it may be, maybe in the second half or wherever they find it. But overall, content's going to be week 1. Not a lot's probably going to change in those other 5 weeks, and then you'll get your next drop. So that'll be kind of where I will see how long I can keep the podcast going for all of you guys. I enjoy talking to those two, and we will still probably always chat offline just because we've done this for so long. But I think that's why I like Fire Team Chat. You probably won't be seeing a whole lot of that because it's going to taper off a little bit. And Destiny 2 could just be coming to the end of the rope. We will still always talk about games. I'm going to play. I've been a gamer for all my life, and that's not going to change. And Bruce, that's a prime example. If you thought it was cool, but it's too grindy if you have another game, well, if you're kind of done with the Destiny grind, maybe the First Ascendant pulls you away. But if you see progress in your grind, like, oh, I got this thing and now it's more powerful, that makes you feel stronger and pushes you to keep grinding. Destiny does not have a lot of that anymore when you get to a certain point. Pinnacles are just like a slow trickle of number go up. Then when number hit 2,000 and you just have seasonal level go on, that really isn't a whole lot left to do. And then unfortunately you get the turnaround of like getting back to a new episode and then starting back over at 2,000 if your pinnacle grind is done to work your way back up to whatever your seasonal level is going to be from the artifact, which, I mean, I know live service games have their ways of, like Diablo, you make a new character, we do another battle pass, but it always seems like the number is just so arbitrary, especially with the difficulties they have now. It's like, I know they kind of changed them around, but it still seems like you need the level, but you don't, but it shouldn't really matter. Like, just pick a number and then have a difficulty in half the time you could go. So yeah, I mean, you've got Baldur's Gate 3 that still has 76,000 people playing right now. Truly, that game is astounding. But I have been rambling on for almost 2 hours now. We talked about a lot of the game calendar for the rest of 2024. 2025, Monster Hunter Wilds and Grand Theft Auto 6 are going to be two of the biggest games I think that are in there. You've also got like South of Midnight and so many other games. There's a lot of stuff that's coming. But Monster Hunter Wilds has got to be one of my biggest ones I'm looking forward to. Grand Theft Auto 6, I'm not really like a Grand Theft Auto creator, but it's a $2 billion game, so I'm going to want to check it out. And you guys know when it comes to tech news, like I love processors and CPUs and graphics cards and hardware and all that stuff. I'm going to follow all of that. So if you enjoy hanging out with me, this is a good place to do it. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Twitter, Twitch, and then, of course, main YouTube channel, but also the Last Word Podcast YouTube channel. I've got a secondary YouTube channel that exists out there, but I got to work on kind of figuring out what to do content-wise with that one. Kind of a weird thing to figure out. Starting over, but trying to figure out what works there. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap up this episode. If you guys enjoyed this long discussion with just me while the other two are out there, thank you guys for hanging. I'm probably going to take a little bit of a break here from talking, probably work on making this a podcast that I can publish in a couple of different places. And what I would like to do potentially is just work on having a little food and maybe playing some more Kunitsugami after this. So if you guys do want to hang on stream, I might put up a BRB thing, turn off the camera while I work on a quick edit and let that thing render. Takes a little while because it's still going to be a long podcast. And outside of that, I think that's probably where at least this podcast will wrap up. I'll get the guys back sometime soon, obviously. And if you guys are hanging out on stream, you can, lurk for a little while until I come back and make some noise. Then we might play some games later. Or I might just turn off stream, and then if I do boot things back up, then maybe I'll do that if I, kind of do dinner with my wife and stuff like that. But she's got like her book club tonight and that kind of thing, so I still might just come back and play because I am trying to knock out everything I can. So, thank you all very much. And this episode, I should probably look up what number it was, just to be sure, because I think it's going to be 307. No, 306, because last week was 305 when we had there 2 weeks ago. It was 305 with the argument and everything else. Going to see Twister. Nice. Have fun. Twisters was fun. I want to see Alien Romulus, actually. So thank you guys. Have a good one. Timed perfectly. My buddy just messaged me to help him with the dungeon. Nice. All right, so I'll probably just wrap up the recording and stream. If you guys enjoyed this episode, it has been The Last Word.